Let's go!
Woo! 4B parts. Far out, that's sick. So we've got wheel bearing kits, we've got brake pads, so they're performance pads. They work well in hot and cold conditions, bit of an all-rounder for four-wheel driving. We've got the slotted rotors from Protex all the way through, so that's their ultra four-wheel drive gear. Basically, again, helping with heat distribution and just performance, solid design all around. So what else you got in here, Lockie?
They're rear pads.
Yep.
Bearings. They're axle seals. How did we find out that my axle seals were gone?
Well, one day when we're heading up to go mountain biking, we were heading through the ranges and we're like, we can smell burning oil. And this passenger side rear wheel, it was just dripping oil down there. So yeah, axle seals are done.
Yep.
Need to replace those bearings while we're in there. So the 80's getting a little bit of love.
Big thank you to Roadrunner for getting these parts to us ASAP.
A big shout out to Barry and Andrew up there. Cheers for getting us hooked up with these parts, fellas. So, we've got a bunch of stuff to go on the cars. Obviously today we're going to do a little bit of a maintenance day. We're going to start on the nav. So when I was out at Cobor, you guys have seen the video, that place was absolutely wild up at Elkhorn's track. Snapped the CV on the passenger side. We replaced the CV out in the track, but when I was doing that, I accidentally pinched the ABS line on the passenger side, and now my dash looks like a freaking Christmas tree with all ABS and traction control lights up. So Patrol Apart hooked me up with a new ABS line. I'm gonna slap that one in today, as well as doing the pads and rotors, do it all at once while I'm in there. I've also got to check the rear drum assembly, because I reckon there'll be a bunch of mud in there, and the handbrake's not working very well, so I'm gonna see if we can clean that out and adjust the handbrake up. Let's get stuck into it.
Let's see how these are 40-something thousand Ks old.
40,000. There's a bit of a lip on them. So the rotors are a little bit discolored. You can probably see it on the camera. Bit of a lip on the edge there as well, inside and outside. So that's interesting. The outer rubber sheathing has been rubbing on the old tyres on the car, not the new ones. With the positive 30 offset wheels, they must have been in far enough on the allied woofs that it was rubbing on that. I'll have to check it against the new ones and make sure it's clearing. There we go. So basically you just take your caliper off the carrier first, so it's the 13mm bolts on the outside here, undo those two, and then take the caliper off and it exposes the pad. You might find if yours are seized up a little bit, like mud and everything's in there, mine actually aren't too bad surprisingly, but if you've got a heap of gunk in there, they may seize up a little bit, and you'll have to lever them out.
Not too bad.
Show us the wear, like go flat. Yeah, so it's wearing pretty even, which is good considering how much crap I put them through. So I've just got the new Protex pads. Oh man. Yeah, okay, that's a heap of difference. Okay, so definitely was time to change these bad boys out. Either that or the Protex pads are just super meaty.
Sweet.
Oh, shh. Payback. That's Nissan Torque spec right there. FT. So now we're just whipping off the carrier so we can get to the rotor.
See all the mud build up in there? Not a bad idea after out forward driving, trying to clean that out.
You just got to get your tongue in there. That's probably why I cooked them. That's one way to get your carrier off. Lockie,
my boy.
Special delivery.
Oh God. I see that you just threw the instructions aside.
What instructions?
So the same ventilation, they've just got a few little slots in them for that extra race car feel. Medium strength Loctite. There you go.
Thank you, sir. Now Protex supply ceramic silicone brake component lubricant. Basically, you can apply this to any moving parts on your brake componentry. So things like the backing plates for your pads, these pins in here, they also use lubricant in them. I'm not going to do mine though because they feel quite good and the actual dust boots are still sealed around there, so I'm just going to leave them alone. This can also go in between the piston points on the caliper itself and the pads. But yeah, just take extra care when you're doing this yourself, guys. Use the lubricant, it stops brake squeal. Just make sure you don't put it between the pad and the surface of the brake rotor and you should be sweet.
Yep.
And that bottom spring simply just rests right on there on that metal tang. The inside one goes exactly the same way. Metal spring clip down the bottom. So I'm just adding a little bit of ceramic grease onto the backing plates for the pads where the pistons will hit. So this is probably something that we should have done before, but we need to reset the pistons as far back in as possible. But before you do that, your brake master cylinder, there's a cap on there for the reservoir. Take that cap off so that when you put pressure back in there, the air has somewhere to escape. Just had a small buildup of surface rust. Just cleaning that off now. So there's probably some sort of tool which does exactly this function, but we've just grabbed a pair of big vice grips, flat piece of metal, put it across both faces of the pistons, and then just push them in evenly. Torque those to spec. Yeah. All right, that's all done. Time to do the exact same thing on the other side of the car, except we have to do the ABS line on the other side as well. We've got performance brake pads and rotors on now. Let's go straight to the racetrack. Maybe let's not go to the racetrack. What I reckon we do is we chuck a set of vernier calipers over the other pads, get a measurement of those, how they are now, check these ones again in 40,000 Ks and see the wear comparison between the two. Because technically speaking, the OEM pads and rotors are usually a longer wearing setup. Performance stuff has different compounds which work really good and brake really good, but they tend to let off more brake dust and they usually wear down quicker. So it'll be an interesting comparison, I reckon. Okay, so these are coming in at 10.8 mil. We'll check these again in 40,000 Ks and see how the Protex hold up compared to OEM.
Turn around, I just wanna have fun. Turn around now. I just wanna have fun. Turn around now. I just wanna
Now that the caliper and the disc rotor are off, we can get into the ABS line that I pinched when I was replacing the CV the other day. So pretty easy to get to. You've got a clip just there, and then you follow that line all the way down, wraps around here, got a few things going on. This might look different to yours because I had to trim some things to suit the lift kit. It goes down into here, comes out into the hub. Allen key bolt comes out, the sensor comes out of there, and you just replace that whole line. So we'll go ahead and replace that now.
turn around. I just wanna turn around. I just wanna turn around. I just wanna.
So we've got some overnight parts from Patroller Part, genuine Nissan gear, the same as the one that came out of it. A little bit of silicone grease.
How many nav guys are driving around with their ABS lines all pinched and stuffed?
Yeah.
And how easy it is to replace it. And they're literally like, how much are they?
Like $50 for a genuine replacement line, so yeah. Well worth it.
Yeah.
Actually, look, you're doing it.
Oh.
This is your side.
Yay.
Done. Brakes, pads, rotors, and a replacement ABS line in what, like 45 minutes with filming.
Oh wow, that's actually really impressive.
That was good. Get a mechanical workshop to do this, a professional workshop. But if you're gonna have a crack at it yourself, just be very careful. Try and be as clean as possible. Grease them up, make sure everything goes back together the same way that you pulled it off. Make sure you torque everything up, check all your bolts. Be extra careful because it is your braking system of the car. So the first thing you got to do when you start doing the drums on the back of a drum vehicle with drum brakes on the back of your car is you've got to take the handbrake off because you can't do much with the handbrake on. More than a feeling. Ready? Catch.
Oh god, it's going to hit me again.
Two things we're going to do. We're going to try hitting this with a hammer first. Maybe we get a bit of wood as a drift. Tap the drum around the outside to try and release the pads on the inside against the outside of the drum. If that doesn't work and it still doesn't come off, we've got some threaded bolt holes in here that we can screw some bolts into and try and pull the drum off that way. Because what happens over time is a bunch of brake dust and rust and everything just gets inside there and starts getting stuck between the whole mechanism and the inside, and that causes this to not wiggle off like a rotor does, like on the front of the car before.
Oh, hello. It's probably
breathe it in. You wouldn't breathe it in.
No, that would give me diseases. Oh, there we go. Oh, the big lot then. They're not
bad.
They're not.
That's a fair bit of meat still.
Yeah, it is.
I reckon that's got a bit of life left in it.
Cobalt.
Let's start with cleaning this thing up because there's a lot of stuff in there. Then we'll assess the damage, we'll see what we're working with, and then reassemble and adjust. So, the handbrake at the moment, it's going click, 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 like 8, 9 clicks up. When it was brand new, it was like 1, 2 clicks and it was good. So what we need to do is basically, once we've cleaned this bad boy up, is this little adjustment lever right here, is just get a flat blade screwdriver and adjust this. That winds the pads in and out, and that will put the amount of pressure on the drum. So basically these pads have just worn. So now the handbrake's taking a bit more to engage and the brake's taking more to engage. So you've got fluid still going to this rear assembly. That's the piston. When you put your foot on the brake pedal, that opens up the pads and pushes against the drum, which creates braking pressure. You're not supposed to breathe that in, by the way. So, an interesting thing that you can check on your brake drum, if you've done a few more Ks than I have and you think that it might be worn out, you can check the actual diameter of the drum itself. So on the inside of the housing, you've got a max diameter there. So that is your measurement. You'll see that on all brake drums. Then you can just chuck a ruler over that and check it. So mine's 271.5 and I'm at about 268 roughly. So it's got a bit more life left in it. And just give it a light scuff.
A light scut?
A light scuff. So you can see they're a bit more dull now. They were glossy before. Basically when you're doing this, you need to make sure you don't adjust them out too far where you can't get the drum back on, or to a point where the drum's rubbing a lot. Do a small adjustment and reassemble. And what you want is to get it to a point where this is a snug fit going back on, like that. So it was pretty tight fit. And then when you move it around, you just want to feel that it's just grabbing a little bit on the pads on the drum. So that's pretty good. You don't want it to be really hard up against the drum because it's going to cause excessive heat in the rear end, heat up your drum assembly and your brakes, and that's obviously not good. So you don't want too much drag. That's probably about spot on, I reckon. Killer socks, man. Oh yeah. So don't forget to put your brake master cylinder cap back on. Just pop that bad boy on like that.
Did it overflow at all?
It did, a little bit of overflow. You're good to go. Don't go out for a test drive without putting that cap back on. Thailand. Let's go for a test. All the ABS lights are off, traction control lights off. There's no Christmas trees anymore. Totally forgot we did the ABS line. Everything's working again. It was a great success. Bed-in process. I'd probably recommend to refer to the manufacturers, whatever details they have on the bed-in process. They're all a little bit different, to be honest with you. So you need to do about 10 stops from 60 kilometers per hour, coming down to about 20 kilometers per hour. So not a complete stop. Then once you've done that, do maybe 3 stops roughly from about 80 kilometers per hour. Head back to your house or the shop, let your car cool down, let the brakes cool down for about 15 minutes and you're good to go. Are you feeling the difference as we're stopping?
It feels like it's biting in harder.
Yeah, it's getting there.
Plus the adjustment on the rear is going to make it heaps better because that, I would say, was way out.
Way out, man. Transmission flow. Crack it, Lockie.
Make sure you don't click it too far, otherwise it ricochets and like whoosh. takes your eye out. So in my mind, this was a lot less in depth, doing wheel bearings and axle seals and brake pads and rotors, but apparently on an 80 series it's very in depth. So we're just going to give you a bit of a run through, show you like what we're doing, but it's going to be sick, and the site foreman's going to guide us through wherever she's gone, what to do and how to be safe while doing it.
Do you approve?
Yeah.
Site foreman?
Yep.
So basically we've just dropped the rear axle oil and we've got the rear wheels off the ground, ready to take the wheels off. That will expose the hub assembly, caliper assembly, basically everything where we need to get into to get to the wheel bearings and do all the brake pads and rotors. So we're just going to lay out on the table our wheel bearing kits. So these are the two fronts. They come with everything you need, wheel bearings, seals, and gaskets inside as well. This is the rear kit. That's one side, so Koyo bearings, good quality bearings, all your seals and everything in there. So these are all supplied by Roadrunner. They have terrain tamer kits and drive tech kits, all good quality stuff. And then that's all the brake componentry as well, which we'll be tackling while we're in there.
Quick tip, take your handbrake off, which I haven't done. I'll be going up and taking my handbrake off. Ready, Moo? That, my friends, is the reason we're doing this. Because your diff oil is supposed to be inside of your diff.
One of the seals inside of the hub assembly between the axle and here is failed, and that's why the diff oil is getting out. And it's all in there and it's all over this and it's everywhere. It's just a mess.
Yay!
Lockie's just taken out the ABS sensor now, so that's the reluctor for the ABS pickup on the hub, and there's a sensor that sits behind it. We're taking it out just in case it gets damaged.
I don't know what's going to come out, but
Just the bearings. The rear one will be retained. So your front bearing will fall out. Your rear one at the back here is held in by this seal.
Yep.
So it won't fall out on you.
So do we reckon that's the seal that's gone?
No, I reckon this seal, you can almost see it already, I reckon.
Oh, that one there.
The inner axis seal is damaged to the lip. So upon some closer inspection on this side of the vehicle, passenger side, the inner axle seal, it looks like they might be double stacked. Focus. Yeah, so it looks like there might be two seals in there. So whoever's maintenance it last time has pumped in two seals. Hopefully it's not because the actual spindle itself is damaged on the inside and that's why they double stacked them. Hopefully it's just an installer error. Pull it out and we'll have to inspect it. We've finished ripping apart the other side and that has only got the one seal in there. Same as what we have there to replace them with. So yeah, interesting.
That's one.
Hold on, is there three in there?
There's not, is there? Oh.
So that looks like the original Lockie.
Is it all cracked and perished?
Yeah.
Oh, it's like rock hard.
Well, let's compare it to the other side maybe and see what we're working with.
One seal.
So that's a relatively new seal. Fingers crossed when we press the seal in properly using the proper tools, it seals up, doesn't leak oil everywhere.
Very delicately. So that's what happens when diff oil mixes with your grease and it's not good.
Possibly some water as well.
Oh, there is? Oh, there you go. Here, would you like some?
Oh, some clean grease.
There we go. We'll just fix this and we'll just put it back.
We've still got to pull out the inner bearing races, and then once we've done that, we'll go through and give it a proper clean, wipe it down, and it's ready to reinstall new bearings, races, and seals. And just alternate sides, do one hit on each side so that it comes out straight.
Sweet.
And that's the race, and that's where it seats into.
See the two little notches? There and there.
Basically, these are machined rings which are tapered already, and you just pop it in there. You can use a press on that, or you can just grab yourself a hammer and start driving it home. you can hear the noise change as you're hitting that. That's where it's seated against the inside of the hub lid. Now you can just visually check by flipping it over and just having a look to make sure that it is seated on the ridge. It's home. Basically, you just want to get that seal edge flush with the outer edge of the hub, and that's the inside. So now the bearing's in there to retain with the seal. We can flip it over, and Lockie's going to chuck in the small bearing. I'll go grab one of the Tool Pro bits.
Yeah.
Oversized face for it.
Yep, right.
Good feeling.
Can't wait for the new brakes.
So we're still not sure as to why the person that did these before double stacked the seals on the passenger side. We checked the depth of the actual stub axle itself to compare it with the other side. It was exactly the same, so there's no reason apart from maybe they just fucked up, or they double stacked because they damaged the seal maybe and they were trying to give it extra sealing. We're not sure, but now it's got the single seal in there. It's all done properly, ready to go. We're going to start reassembling the hubs back on, tension them down using the Toyota torque specs. So they've got like a Newton meters rating that you have to torque down the locking nut on, and then you have to undo it and then do it up finger tight basically after you do all that, just to seat the bearings on there properly. So yeah, if you're doing this yourself, just refer to your Toyota manual for your torque settings and have a crack. Don't damage your seal. Well done, Lockie. We still got to do pads, rotors, and then front pads and rotors and wheel bearings up the front as well. So we still got a bit to do. Lockie's just getting out the new rotors now for the 80. I'm going to put the drum over the assembly so we can check the adjustment on the handbrake shoes. Rudy, what's going on? What's going on, Rudy?
Oh, that's way too much.
What do you reckon, Lockie? I think that's the rear done. That rear end should be feeling a lot better than what it was, that's for sure.
And it won't be leaking oil all over the
Won't be leaking
brakes.
oil all over your handbrake. Your handbrake might work now. Help. Time to do the front.
That's it.
Shall we do the front?
We should do the front.
We should do the front.
It's not bad. It's not a bad job.
It's just very hot today.
It's, yeah, like 37, 38
It's still
degrees.
like 37 degrees and what is it, 5 o'clock in the
5 o'clock,
afternoon?
Yeah.
Big 4-pot boys!
We're just doing the fronts now.
What are we going to do? We've got pads and rotors up the front as well and wheel bearings.
Yep. The reason we did the back first was because of that axle seal.
Yeah, the axle seal was the main reason that we had to do it on the 80 because it was leaking.
Yeah.
And then we're just like, while we're there.
We might as well do the front. It was time-based.
Yeah.
Time.
And we're kind of just like, now we're here, let's do it.
Tock, tick, tock on the rocket clock.
So we're going to take off this outside cap.
Yep.
And then that will allow us to get off the rotor. And the bearing should be in the rotor. Hey!
So, that's the old rotor. And then revealed all the bearings in there, pull the racers out, and put a new rotor on. Bing!
Cool, so that's pretty much it. The hub assembly's there. We've packed the bottom side bearing in, then put the seal over the top of that one to retain it. We've still got the top bearing to go back in, that slot's on there, but we've just dropped the hub assembly onto the new Protex rotor, and we're just gonna put some Loctite on the bolts, torque it down to spec, and that one's ready to reassemble back onto the vehicle. That top pad is pretty much non-existent. I don't know if you guys can see that, but it's almost worn down to metal. So it was a perfect time to do this job for the 80, I reckon, Lockie.
It has seen some things.
That looks so good, man. Brand new and shiny. Check your owner's manual for Toyota, but basically it's putting first lock nut on, then it's the star washer, then it's the secondary lock nut, and they're all just torqued down to settings. So pretty straightforward. Check your owner's manual on how to do that. Slap it together. Done.
Can't even talk.
It's been a big day. We've literally done front and rear wheel bearings. We've done front and rear pads and rotors on this thing. Filmed it as well. It's been a massive day, but we were just saying before, it's so good to get these mods done on the 80 series before we start slapping on more weight, bigger rubber, bigger offset tires, all that sort of stuff is going to put more weight and load on those wheel bearings, and also the stopping power of this vehicle is going to be decreased as soon as we put bigger rubber on. So it's a perfect time for us to do this sort of boring maintenance that isn't as much fun as slapping on 35s, but is much needed before you go doing all those sorts of mods. Get the thing reliable and capable, and then make it capable after you've made it reliable. So yeah, we're almost there though. It's pretty much just this caliper on the passenger side, put that back together with some new pads. Lockie's doing that now, and then we're gonna get out on the road and we're going to bed these new pads and rotors in and check out how well the new brakes operate.
I am. I'm really looking forward to having brakes at work, because these are just non-existent. So yeah.
They're getting pretty low as well.
Not as bad as the other side, but yeah.
Dude. Well, the wheels didn't fall off. That's a good start. So we finished the brake upgrade on the 80 series Land Cruiser a couple of days ago. We took it straight out and did the bedding in process. Everything went really well, like the Navara. Everything bedded in properly. The brakes felt much better, but the 80 series was still on its stock wheels and tires. Now, we had plans already to put some bigger wheels and tires on this thing, which is exactly what we did. We slapped some bigger rubber on the 80 series Land Cruiser, and we did that because we know that it's going to change braking efficiency as soon as you put bigger tires on it. That wheel and tire upgrade is coming up in a video this weekend, so stay tuned for that one. But now we're taking out, we're going to show you guys the braking difference, and we're going to find out the braking difference for the first time with the bigger tires on there. See how much difference it is over standard. It already feels a bit different, the power with the bigger rubber on there.
Yeah, it's slow. It's very slow.
Not bad. Like, it's an old 80.
Yeah,
it needs a tune.
You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Oh, actually, they're actually pretty good.
They're actually not bad. So we just came to an abrupt stop coming into a roundabout. So there must have been some cars coming or something to the right of us.
Just had to give way for the cars.
Yeah, the cars there. There's no one behind us. They grip really well as
I reckon they bite in really well.
Yeah. That's really good. So what I reckon we do is we go do like a series of 5 stops, and then we try it again to see if the brake fade has changed, if it's better, because the OEM stuff, the brake fade wasn't great.
Yeah.
So after a while,
This has got ABS too though, so it's I'm sorry, had to brake urgently for a corner there. So,
Well, I guess it comes down to the pads and the rotors getting too much heat into them.
Yeah,
and
that's it. Saying what they're like.
that's it. You gotta stop doing that.
Really good. Sorry, these corners just keep coming up really quickly, and I've got to test them.
I'm gonna throw my shoulder out.
Yeah.
How's the pedal feeling?
It's a bit mushy, but that we didn't do lines.
Oh, we sort of do the brake lines. Yes.
So they're what 30-something-year-old brake lines. So
Rubber hoses.
Rubber hoses. There.
So we've got some braided brake lines coming for the 80 Series Land Cruiser, which is going to help with the pedal feel to stop that line swell that you get from the soft rubber lines, especially with these old ones because they're 30 years old.
It feels like a balloon. You put the brakes on. Oh, here, there's emergency stop coming up right now. Yeah. That was ABS helping then, so that's
But
sorry,
it's
emergency
even.
stop. I had to emergency stop. There's a vehicle that's pulled out in front of me.
That's actually really impressive, though. That's heaps better than the ones that are in there. Obviously,
you can feel the initial bite.
Yeah.
is very good, but I can definitely feel that the rubber hose is. Like, that's where the give is now, I think.
Yeah, so that's the next upgrade. Get some braided brake lines on this thing. But as I was saying, coming up this weekend is the wheel and tyre upgrade for the 80 Series Land Cruiser, where we slap some bigger rubber on this thing, start getting a little bit more clearance underneath those axles. Then after that, we'll do the braided brake lines. We've just got some suspension sitting there to go in as well, so a 3-inch lift, big flexi lift to go into this thing, which will be awesome. But I think the conclusion is that we'll do one more stop.
Yeah.
We've done a few emergency stops to heat up the brakes, the pads and the rotors, get a lot of heat into them, so they should be working at their least efficient right now. They've got a lot of heat there, so they shouldn't brake as good. So we're going to put it to the test. We're going to get up to speed now, probably about 80 kilometers per hour.
Yep.
And then we're going to come to a complete stop and see how it goes. Woo! Race car!
Oh, it's so slow. It's so slow.
The initial takeoff, you got power mode engaged?
Yes, everything's engaged.
Just let me know when you're going to go, okay? Just make sure you give me plenty of warning.
Plenty of warning of when we're going to go to emergency. Dude,
That wasn't...
it's still good.
That wasn't that bad. I was expecting heaps worse. That's good, man. Considering we've just done a series of 5 stops, got a lot of heat into it, and now we've just done a complete stop from 80. That's handled really well. So that's a massive upgrade over standard. Will be interesting to see how long these pads and rotors last in comparison to like an OEM set. So we know that we're getting better braking efficiency, but hopefully we get the lifespan out of these components where they don't wear out too quick. There's not a lot of brake dust, all that sort of stuff. So we'll keep you guys updated with that.
I think we just take it to a racetrack now.
I think we've got to go to a racetrack, yeah. I think it's ready for
It is now a race car.
big lift, brake upgrades, muddies,
Racetrack. Yeah. Is this what you do?
All right, guys, that's going to wrap up this video. We are absolutely stoked with the outcome on both cars. Both of them are braking a lot better. So it's been a good maintenance weekend. We've got a lot done. Wheels, bearings, and seals as well on the 80. So that was a good thing to tackle. ABS lines fixed on the nav. So both cars are now ready to hit the tracks again. We've got to get some lift in this 80 as soon as possible so we can start hitting some bigger tracks as well with it. That'll be really good.
It will be very good to get this thing out on the tracks.
Yeah.
Very excited about that.
Looking forward to seeing how it goes compared to some of the later model vehicles like the Nav, which is a pretty capable car. So it'll be interesting putting them back to back and seeing how things go. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit the like button, drop a comment below, let us know what you want to see for the 80 build, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It will let you know as soon as a video drops, so you'll be able to get straight into it.
Let's go!
Woo!